All right, guys, I'm gonna give you 3 to 4 tips on how to get a cinematic image with any camera. Just to prove my point, last night I went out and bought a Canon Rebel T5i for 250 bucks off Facebook Marketplace. Doesn't have any fancy features, no log profiles, it only shoots 1080p. I'm either going to really just fail in this video or I'm gonna be able to prove my point. So we're gonna find out together. All right, guys, so we're gonna start off with how to do cinematic shots outdoors. We'll go indoors for movement. Also, this is sponsored by Honeybook. We'll go over later what that's all about. All this is gonna be like my golden rules of what I do personally. So I know so many people are gonna be like, what's the it's not cinematic and what's the cinematic story is gonna be on Netflix. We all know when you see an image and it just looks cinematic, we just use the word cinematic. Get over it. The first thing that I try to do is not blow out the highlights. You're gonna hear a lot of people on YouTube and on the internet saying you want true white and black points, yada, yada, yada. Majority of films that you watch, if you're a technical person, you take those into DaVinci and you look at the waveforms. I know that's all overly technical. None of the white points are accurate on those films. So obviously there's different films. Comedy films might be a little bit brighter, but more cinematic things in my brain have a deeper exposure, but that's not how they film it. So let's talk about it. So majority of your cameras are gonna have a histogram. I'm shocked even this little cheap $250 used old camera, this thing's over 12 years old now. Histograms is what it's gonna help you really set your exposure. So you can see on the histogram, all those highlights going all the way over to the right. I'm gonna close down my VND until we start preserving some of those highlights. You see right here, we're not blowing any highlights. It's a little too dark though. So I'm gonna let just a little bit of the highlights blow out, just a little bit, and we're gonna roll on there. This is gonna be your first big tip is you want to expose for the highlights. Specifically, when I'm filming outdoors, I rather preserve as much highlights as possible and let the blacks clip a little bit. Because in reality, for digital cameras, once you blow out those highlights, it's ugly looking. It looks digital. All right, guys, the safest thing to do that personally I try to never do is putting your subject directly into the sun. For instance, I'm going to set up the camera and film this way, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. When we do it this way, we're gonna be able to get a really strong, great exposure, but it might lack some depth. And that's kind of what all this whole video is gonna come down to, is creating depth, creating contrast, whether that's through lighting, framing, or color. So guys, this frame's not horrible, and there is some natural framing here. You got me, the truck, you got trees, and then you got the mountains in the backdrop. And we're creating layers with nature. Now, if I wanted to start creating more interest and possible story and more depth, through contrast and light, I'm gonna flip this whole setup around, and this is gonna be a cheat code to actually get a cinematic look. Even if I'm trying to make a dumb, cinematic, pointless 11-minute long video on YouTube, I probably still wouldn't choose this angle. All right, guys, so this is traditionally how I would try to film something. You can see the sun's now more behind me, so we're getting light rimming my arm over here. It's probably on the back of my hat here, and I'm in the shadow. On top of that though, the light is bouncing off all this whitish sand that's in front of me. So I am getting a little bit of a fill light. Both frames might look fine to you, but personally to me, I like this more because we have some subtle bounce light coming onto me. We have dark, we have highlights, then we have dark on the truck, then highlights on the truck. We have dark behind that, highlights behind that. Even the mountains, I try to angle it so you can see the back of the mountains even. So you can see how much more depth that this is creating. If you're gonna watch any of your favorite, like most cinematic looking films, you're gonna notice majority of the time, the camera's on the shadow side of the subject. You will rarely see them putting the camera and the light on the same side as the subject. It's always camera, subject, light. That's just helping to create one shape. It's helping create depth. It's helping to create contrast. Now, what if you are in outdoors with a mix of indoors and you're more of a contrasty scene? I'm gonna get into my truck here and showcase that for you guys right now. First off, I'm gonna hold true to what I was just saying. I'm gonna make sure my highlights aren't peaking, and you're gonna see when I step in there, you're not gonna be able to see me much. If you're doing a scene where just a little bit of the window's in there and blown out, let it blow out. That's fine. But if the window is like kind of a core part, maybe, you know, a stranger's gonna walk into the background, or I want you to see that I'm out in the mountains or something like that, then obviously I wanna make sure I'm not blowing out those highlights. And just to be specific, I don't care if my specular highlights blow out, it's more the overall exposure. Now, what is specular highlights? If we look at right here, you see there's a pinpoint of the sun edging my side mirror right here. That's a specular highlight. Those are even blowing out to the naked eye. I don't care if those blow out. It's more the general exposure. I don't want the woods and stuff back there to be blown out. I have no idea if the T5i's autofocus is good or not, so we're gonna possibly find out right now, but Sedona's a good like 75 pounds. And after she tore her ACL, I try not to let her jump in and out of there. So you guys are gonna see, I'm probably very underexposed. There's multiple ways to fix this. One, we could get a reflector out and we could reflect the sunlight back onto me. Now, I forgot my reflector, so we're not gonna do that. I can't share too much about this light yet. Subscribe and maybe you'll find out more later in a month or so. So a lot of people think when it comes to, battling the sun that you need your lights to be able to overpower the sun. Obviously that does help, but for situations like this, I just want to help the camera sensor to get a little bit more of an exposure read on me, even if it's very faint, even if it's near the clipping zone. Say if we put this light right here, this makes no sense. The sun's over here, so why would I light myself here? I think this is the #1 biggest mistake people do. They don't use the light in real life as motivation on where to put the light. In order to make this look more natural, but still cinematic, I'm gonna put it on this side of my face. All of a sudden, it'll look more like it's coming from out there. To really help this, again, I would love if I had something white in here that I could just bounce it off, but I don't. So I'm gonna put a softbox on here. It's gonna kill a little bit of the luminosity, but even this is gonna give me a bright enough exposure to, compete with outside. And you see how small this light is here. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for showing you guys this much of this whole thing. So obviously guys, this light is in frame. Again, if we were taking this serious, I would put this outside. This is enough just to get an exposure on me. You're still able to see outside. I kept the window half up too, just so you can see some texture in there. Again, it's all about creating depth. That's what cinematic is, creating pockets of light, layers of light, whatever depth that you can create using light. That's gonna help you. Now that we've gotten through that aspect of it, let's talk about movement. So guys, like I was saying, this video is sponsored by Honeybook. I've been using Honeybook to create all my invoices. You guys know I got hardcore ADHD. So Honeybook, just having like an app and they kind of do everything for you, you just have to input the numbers, has really saved me a lot of time and effort and headaches, and I'm no longer sending invoices 3 months late just because of my ADHD BS. So let me show you how it works. Now, say if you guys start utilizing all the tricks and tips I've been sharing in this video and you find yourself starting to book a bunch of clients. The hardest part with doing freelance work is keeping up on all the business end of things. Something like Honeybook, the leading client-centered CRM platform for independent business, will make you look way more professional and will keep you way more productive. You can see, you can even customize your invoices right here. On top of that, I can even pull up the Honeybook app on my phone and still create an invoice on the spot. I no longer look like an amateur just using, the most basic invoice that I found online. I'll be sure to put a link in the description if you guys want to try out Honeybook for yourself. And again, guys, I'm not making a movie here. If you're making films and a narrative piece, that's totally different. These are kind of things that I just utilize when it comes to commercial work, creating social media content. If I'm just trying to get a cinematic image just because I want to fucking get a cinematic image, these are the things that I do. I have a few rules I live by when I'm trying to create cinematic movement. First off, if there's a lot of movement that I'm creating in camera, and I want you to pay attention to what I'm saying, I'm totally confident with locking off the camera like we have right now. Obviously, you can see the background moving past me, and I'm trying to say something important into this video. Now, if I'm about to shoot something that has subtle movements and I want to create energy, say it's for like a brand doc or just social media or just anything, and I still want to make it cinematic, but the story isn't as intentional, I will do handheld to help create some more energy, and I will follow the movement. I'll show you guys here in a moment. First off, I don't think this has any IBIS or IS or any type of stabilization. So we're doing all just handheld stuff here. I'm gonna follow the action. I'm gonna do this, not exactly this. I'm gonna be following the action with the camera here. I'm not gonna just be aimlessly just doing this or doing a rolling shutter test that YouTubers do. On top of that, I'm gonna combine everything once again that I just told you guys about. So instead of being on this side where the sun's just blasting on him, I'm gonna reverse it and shoot from the shadow side. I did a video like 3 or 4 years ago on how I do handheld filmmaking. I'll be sure to put a link in the description because the way I'm about to do it goes against everything that I talk about in that video. It all comes down to weight. So I feel like this is what people usually do. Go ahead. They just stand in one spot. And you can see all the shakes in there, had a lot of coffee today. I feel like that's what they usually do. I'll do it one more time for you guys, what I would usually do. So I'm gonna follow the movement of his hands. It's all out of focus, but you guys are getting it. So you guys saw there, everywhere the camera went, like I'm not doing huge movements like this. I'm exaggerating for you guys right here, but everything, I was trying to follow the movement. Honestly, that's probably gonna look like pure garbage because this camera is so light. You're seeing all the little micro shakes on there. All right, guys, I'm back on the Lumix S1R2. You guys can see the image quality night and day, most likely. Let's talk about gimbals real quick. I'm not gonna spend too much time on showcasing a gimbal in this video. I have a million videos on my channel about gimbals, so maybe I'll link the most recent one. Now, how I love to use gimbals here, or when I want the handheld look, but I don't want to distract people too much by the camera movements. A gimbal really does a great job at getting all those micro shakes, but also helps you to create intention with the movement. And you're not gonna take the audience out or make them think there's some like excitement or anticipation to come because you're just focusing on creating smooth movement. Probably one of the most like saddest things that I see when people are using a gimbal is exactly how I showed you guys when I just stand there like a doofus doing a handheld camera as if I'm a human tripod. People do the same thing with a gimbal. Everything I just taught you about backlighting or lighting from the shadow side and creating depth, creating layers. You can do all that, but with movement using a gimbal, even handheld as well. All right, guys, I'm gonna show you guys how I do my locked off shots here at the truck. You see I have little magnetic mounts up there. So we're just gonna throw the camera in one of those magnetic mounts, but let's real quick talk about the gear I'm using. I've had the Sigma 35 f1.4, I don't remember for how long now, but this is the lens we've been using. I also have the kit lens for the locked off shots. I think we're gonna use the kit lens just to, solidify everything I'm saying here. I really want to use Anamorphics in this video, but I couldn't find an EF to PL adapter in time. This is a front anamorphic adapter. This would actually pair up beautifully with the Sigma 35mm. I really want to do it for this video, but we're kind of running out of time, so.
It was a hot summer's night. Lord, we couldn't close our eyes. It was a hot summer night. Lord, we couldn't close our eyes.
I wasn't gonna do anamorphic stuff in this, but I couldn't resist. I had to work on the bike a little bit, so I was like, let me throw it on. So I just wanna show you guys what the setup was. I think it looks shockingly good for this being a Canon T5i. We're using the Sigma 35mm f1.4. I'm at 1.8 on it. This is the BlazeArt Neuro front anamorphic adapter. This thing basically, you can put on any of your lenses. There's a bunch of workarounds and stuff. I won't go into it, but basically it's giving us a 1.5x de-stretch. Now, you can't de-stretch in this camera. Shockingly, there's a lot of like even Sony cameras and stuff that are like $6,000 that you can't even do internal de-stretch, which is ridiculous. In order for me to monitor myself, I'm using this DJI SDR transmitter. This thing is one of the most affordable transmitters that you can get. And it's also one of the most consistent and just like high quality for the price, in my opinion. I'm just connected directly to the app. So you can see from the app there, I have my image. So, and in the app, I'm able to de-stretch the image so I can actually see what in the anamorphic I am doing. You can see I'll turn it off. That's the image. Without a de-stretch, that's with a de-stretch. There's no crazy thrills. Again, this is over a 12-year-old camera, and you guys are seeing the image quality that I'm able to get out of it. It's not about all of the specs and stuff that we're constantly whining about. It comes down to creativity, knowing how to utilize natural light, your angles, all of that, as you guys are seeing. It's literally just a little $250 camera. I'm just trying my best to help educate other people. For the locked off shots here, I'm gonna put the kit lens on, and you're gonna see when it comes to creating movement in camera, the camera's not gonna do the movement. Everything around us is gonna be doing the movement. It gives you like production value, just having a camera locked off. And it's really simple too. Just need a suction cup or some magnetic mounts. There's a million ways to do this. Little itty bitty hole. Obviously this video isn't for the hardcore amateurs out there. So hopefully you guys already understand about VNDs and creating bokeh and all that. We're not going into that in this video. Put a link in the description to this magnetic mount. For the shot, we don't have anything crazy going on. Again, we have a little $250, like 12-year-old camera. We have the freaking kit lens on it. We have a polarized VND. That's kind of the magic trick to shooting through a windshield. You need a polarizer or seeing the results. They're too good for how cheap this whole setup is here. So I'm hoping it's confirming it's less about the gear and more about the intention behind the shots, trying to motivate yourself to be creative and trying new things and not just doing what you think you should be doing. I think someone would just want to vlog from it or have a buddy film for them, where this you're gonna get more of a filmic theme because again, we're used to seeing stuff like this in films, not in a silly YouTube video, except for the cool people. Like Johnny Romes. Johnny Romes fucking crushes stuff like this. I will say, I think I know where this guy was selling this camera. The screen likes to flip. Like it's upside down right now.
Oh yeah, it doesn't.
There it goes. Nope. There it goes. Nope, it's back over again. Oh, it's back over. There it goes. All right guys, so everything I just taught you, I'm doing right now. This is a real simple setup. We're not doing anything crazy. The whole trick of this is one, practicals. You want to get as many practicals as possible within your frame. What's a practical? A lamp. I think a normal average human being, they wouldn't think that this is lit. The brains would possibly tell them, hey, there's a lamp behind them. That's where that light's coming from. In reality, I'll show you guys where this light is coming from in a moment here. But on top of that, obviously we have a warm lamp and my key light is also warm. On top of that though, outside we have a blue hour going on. Beautiful ambient blue light coming in. If I wanted to, I could blast a light into the ceiling and push that blue light even more, just get a little bit of a blue light fill on top of my head and around the room a little bit. There's so many different avenues that you could take here. But the biggest takeaway again from this is you want to use practicals. I feel like a lot of times when people do interior shots, they get kind of lost because they're not sure how to light or what they should be lighting, where they should put a light. It's really simple. You want to find the practicals in the building, or you want to find your frame and put a practical into that frame and then use that practical as motivation as your key light. It's literally that simple. That's how I do all of my interior shots. Again, sorry that the Canon T5i's autofocus is pumping. You know, gear does matter when it comes to stuff like that. And last thing I want to say about this, you guys can see it's obviously the camera's on the shadow side of me. Again, if I put the camera over here and the window wasn't in there, you know, it'd be a totally different frame, but you would just be seeing all of this light. Look how bad that looks. That does not look good at all. That looks like dog shit. And then when I turn this way, all of a sudden, I look a little cuter. Or not, but you could see my cheeks being carved out a little bit here. It's just creating way more depth. There's another layer of shadow, light, shadow, light. Even the backdrop, we have light, a little bit of shadow. We have our daylight. Then we have some light. We have some shadows, a little bit of light hitting that. It's all about creating layers. Again, this whole video is about creating depth and layers using light, luminosity, colors, framing, movement. That's what all this is about. Also, guys, this is the light I'm using right here. This is the Nanlite Pavo Slim. You can see right here, that's the ballast. And this is the light itself. I am filming this on the Canon T5i as well. So you guys are seeing the quality here. It's just like a built-in softbox with a grid on it. So the grid's gonna help control your light. So it's not just blasting light everywhere. It's gonna give you a little bit more contrast, which that's what I want. That's what I like. That's the only light I was using. Everything else is practical and environmental. That's it. Really simple stuff here. Hope you guys enjoy this video. I really hope I could do more like this. Again, these videos, they take a lot of time to do, to shoot and edit and everything. So having a sponsor like Honeybook really opens up the doors for me to, you know, share more of this information. So if you liked it and if you have any requests, shoot them down in the comments below. And I hope I've been in focus for all of this. But that's it. Peace.